Hello everyone and welcome to a Rust tips and tricks video on how not to be raided. The first tip I have is make sure your foundations are low to the ground. This will prevent people from going underneath and C4ing through the middle of your base, depending on if your foundations are made out of wood. Alright, the second tip is to always put your door on the right way. As you can see here, I have a wooden door in my inventory right now, so you can obviously see that that's putting on the door backwards. This is the front side of the door, but if you open up the door like this, you can pick it up and replace it on the right way. There you go. That's the proper way to put on a door. And the way you can know with the armored ones is the door handle should always be on the left side of the door, not the right side. If it's on the right, that means it's vulnerable to melee attacks, and people without C4 can pretty easily get into your home. Alright, the third tip is always have an airlock. So again, we're going to place doors and walls facing this way because the door is the most likely spot to be broken into at this stage of a house anyways. And yeah, always have an airlock so that way if people manage to follow you in, then they can't get any farther than as far as you get. So you can stop here, they could kill you, whatever. Or if they're blowing through with C4, they may only have like one C4 and use the door because they didn't look through the cracks of the wood and check that there was an airlock. And then they can't get to your loot room. Alright, the fourth tip is always place a cupboard and place it as soon as you can. So as soon as you have enough wood, make sure you place that cupboard and close it off so that nobody can reach it. If you have a friend, I suggest, and you're playing on a vanilla server, I suggest putting a doorway so that your friend can access it if they're not on at the same time that you place the cupboard. Alright, the next tip I have has to do with locks. So normally you would just place down a lock and grab your key or whatever, if this is a key lock anyways. And yeah, you have access to it, right? If you go out and die, then you're stuck. You have no way to get in or out of your house. So always make a second key and store it in a chest somewhere. But otherwise, if you do die with your key, you can grab your key that's inside when you respawn in your sleeping bag. You can unlock it, remove the lock, and then if you place the lock down again, you can create a new key. And the key that you had before will not work anymore. Alright, the next tip I have is always place window bars. Even if you have shutters or another form of window protection, just make sure you have window bars placed on the window frames as well to add that little bit more protection. And I seriously suggest placing metal ones because the wood ones can be broken quite easily. This is just a precaution in case people have access to one of your cupboards or whatever and can build up to your window, because the windows are easy to hop through, and that's just another form of protection. Alright, here's another tip. If you're about to log off for the night, it's a good idea to have your loot stashed in a closed off room. This depends if you're on a modded server. If you're on a modded server that has /remove, which allows you to basically remove items that you have access to, then you can store your items in there, close it off, and have like decoy chests sitting outside that have maybe some of your less valuable loot. So this is good if you have C4 that you don't want people to get if they come into your base, because if they get that C4, they're gonna keep going until they get your entire all your loot, because if you come into a base with C4, there's a good chance they have other loot somewhere, so they're definitely gonna clear out your entire place. So make sure that you keep that hidden behind walls or what have you. Also, stone walls are much better because you can't peek through the cracks, so in the case of hiding cupboards or hiding chests, then you're definitely going to want to use stone in those areas, and those are the things you're going to want to upgrade to stone first. Alright, another tip that you may find useful is placing triangle foundations outside your house. You can place walls and add a little bit extra protection. So as you see, if I was to do this all the way around, it would look a little bit more like this, and no matter what, you're gonna have to use at least 3 C4 if this was a wooden house to get through all the layers. So one on this wall, and then there's 2 walls on each side behind there. So if I was to blow through this wall with C4, then see, now I have to blow through one of these as well, and then in through here. But yeah, that's just another way to upgrade the protection of your base. Also, if you have high stone walls or high wood walls, you can place those around your base for a bit of added protection. This will make it so they either have to go through your door or waste all the C4 on the walls that surround it. So this is much better if you use the stone walls, because a lot of people will just axe their way through wooden walls, as they are quite easy to break. Also, another tip is always have multiple sleeping bags. Due to a recent patch, you can only use 1 sleeping bag in a certain area over a period of time. So say you have 2 sleeping bags placed right next to each other, you can only use 1. Like the cooldown applies to both sleeping bags if they're in the same radius. And so what you're going to want to do is still have those 2, because if someone does break one of yours, there's a chance that the other sleeping bag will still be there and allow you to TP there once your cooldown is up. So if you're being raided, this could come in handy. Otherwise, it's just a smart building choice. Another tip is to never have windows or openings on a second story, because if there is a group of, say, 2 raiders, the other person can hop on his head and start smacking at the window or whatever, and eventually they're going to be able to, if they try hard enough, hop in through the opening. Also, it's a good idea to place spikes on your roof, because as you can see, there's a rock right there. If someone was to build onto that rock and hop onto my roof, it might be easier for them to get to my loot room. So it's a good idea to place spikes so that they can't hop onto your roof. They'll still be able to shoot the spikes, break them that way, or if they wanted to, C4 them. But this is a little bit of added protection so they can't get onto your roof without wasting some of their resources. Never make overhangs on the second story. These are easy for players to reach depending on what tools they have, and they can apply damage to the bottom, which is the weak side of the floor. So damage is done much faster to this side than it is the top side, as people use that for their roofs. But this side's very dangerous, so never ever put loot on top of 2-story roofs like this, because when players break through that, the loot's just gonna all fall down and they can pick it up. Also, if you have a loot room right next to it, players are gonna be able to jump on top of each other and get into your room. So definitely make sure that anything like this should not be anywhere near your loot room. If you have something like this, it's suggested that you just have it for like a sniper's perch, but make sure that you do have doors on those walls to make sure that they don't get any farther than this. Now, in my opinion, these are some very great tips that can help you stay safe. If there's any more tips that I have missed, please let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to share those in a future video. If you enjoy this, please leave a like, subscribe. I will be doing some more Rust videos in the future, and maybe even some gameplay, so stick around for that if you're interested.